So there's a lot of talk about violating the First Amendment, any amendment. So many talks of amendments. I actually like that we talk about all the amendments right now. Bill of Rights, because a lot of people can't name the Bill of Rights. They can't name the amendments. But once you think that you're going to lose your amendments or your Bill of Rights, all of a sudden people get into it. So we're actually increasing and improving the intelligence of the general population. But in Alabama, they got a sitch. And their sitch is that they've got a huge game against LSU this weekend. It's the number 2 CFP team versus the number 3 CFP team. If you want to know what CFP stands for, spoiler alert, download yesterday's show. And if you can, give it a 5-star rating. Tell your friends, review it, rate it, subscribe to it. Thank you. I worked that in. Debo, it's in. Number 2 versus number 3, home game for Alabama. Second to last home game of the season. Huge game. Championship game sort of ramifications. Alabama, the lower-ranked team, is favored by just under a touchdown. Do you care about any of that? Sort of, but here's what I care about. Guess who's coming to the game? The president of this here United States will be at the game. Therefore, we had a letter go out to the students from the VP of Student Affairs of the Student Government Association of Alabama. May I remind everyone watching or listening, Alabama is a red state. That means it's got a propensity to vote for the Republican candidate for any particular office, unless your name happens to be Michael Moore. I mean Roy Moore. Obviously, I don't mean Michael Moore. That was a joke. Did you get that joke, Coca? Mike Moore? He's not a red state. He's sort of blue. All, this is the letter right here, all. Due to an increase in security outside the stadium, we anticipate it will take an hour or more to get into the stadium. Additional security will be in the student section during the game. Bold underlined, here it comes. Any organizations that engage in disruptive behavior during the game will be removed from block seating instantly for the remainder of the season, meaning for the next week's game against an FCS opponent. Who cares? This is a major letter he wrote. Let me just read to you the bold again. Any organization that engages in disruptive behavior during the game will be removed from block seating instantly. Wow. Does that mean I can't cheer loudly? Does that mean I can't boo the President of the United States? Does that mean I can't boo LSU? Does that mean I should stop all the underage drinking that goes on? Well, there was some confusion about the possibility of free speech being quashed on the campus at the University of Alabama, so a second letter went out from Jason because a lot happened, and I'll tell you what. All, comma. This is letter number dos. Some have misinterpreted my comment regarding, quote, disruptive behavior. As with other games this season, block seating locations are clearly marked, but at a certain time, other students can and should have access to open seats. By disruptive behavior, we are asking students to be respectful to all students and staff and avoid altercations. But here comes the winning line. My email had nothing to do with anyone's First Amendment rights, and I'm sorry for the confusion. Please express yourselves, and especially your pride, for the tide. Hey, Jason, you're a poet, and you didn't even know it. This is called CYA, because he's not talking about people cheering for Alabama or cheering against LSU. He's not talking about that students block other students from sitting there during the course of a regular game. He's talking about liberal students and conservative students getting into arguments during the course of the game. He's talking about conservative students cheering for the president while more Democratic liberal students boo the president. The president has been getting booed at various events. In theory, in Alabama, he should get cheered. It's a red state. But at games, Alabama games, you've got students from all over the country. So there's definitely going to be a back and forth of cheers and boos. That's what the First Amendment is. That's encouraged. I love when I hear boos and cheers at a game. I love booing and cheering players or guests. How about when there's a celebrity sitting in the front row and he's previewing a movie that you saw that stinks? You're going to boo him. What if it's your favorite celebrity sitting front row? You're going to cheer him. That's just how it goes. If the president wants to go to a game, he's got to be willing to get booed just as he's willing to get cheered. But it didn't stop there. So the VP of Student Affairs writes 2 emails back to back because the wheels had come off in Alabama about free speech, which is a huge topic across all college campuses. I spend a lot of time in New Haven up at Yale, and there is a major issue at Yale that we discuss all the time about free speech. And it's not just Yale, it's across all campuses. When you bring in, let's say, a very conservative speaker who is not allowed to give a speech because you've got the very liberal student body saying we don't want him or her, that has a quashing impact on free speech. So the Student Government Association in Alabama sent out yet a 3rd letter. The University of Alabama Student Government Association released the following statement. The SGA, Student Government Association, quote, strongly affirms its belief in free speech and the rights of all students to express their opinions. Today's report erroneously, this is the media who covered this. He's not blaming his own person in student government affairs, blaming the media. Of course, that's what you do. Today's report erroneously assigned a political context to a message meant only to remind students about heightened security and the consequences of altercations or other behaviors unbecoming of a U of A student. Let's see that again. Is that possible? Today's report erroneously assigned a political context to a message meant only to remind students about heightened security and the consequences of altercations and other behaviors. That's not what it was for. That's not what the first email was. Come on, just come out and say it. We've got the President of the United States coming, and we want to show him that we're in a red state and we welcome him. And you know what? I don't care if it's a red state or a blue state. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care if it's Trump the president or Bush the president or Obama the president. You respect the office. If you want to boo him, boo him. If you want to cheer him, cheer him. Of course there's going to be extra security. But you're telling me that all of a sudden, before a game the president's coming to, they're sending out a reminder about altercations? Have they ever been to a game in Alabama? By the end of the first half, there's altercations galore. Because the drinks are flowing. Everyone's feeling good. And their team has been so good, it's not like they're focused on the field. Just doesn't make sense to me. It's disappointing. It's just, you know, what's disappointing to me as I think about it when it comes to sports. I don't want sports and politics to mix, but unfortunately they do sometimes. And the interaction happens in instances like this. An instance where you've got a school who is getting a visit from the president, and they have an opportunity to actually make a statement that encourages free speech. Not doing it after the fact, that's not when it counts. It counts better when you do it before the fact. It doesn't count when you've got to release statement after statement after statement trying to cover up the fact that you were trying to quash free speech to start with. And then you protest by saying, of course we weren't doing that. You've made it 10 times worse for yourself. Every university has a full PR department. Every university is controlling of its own message. Every single quote, press release, interview, it is funneled through. It's run like a sports team. The fact is, universities are a lot like sports teams. And the University of Alabama is no exception. And their football team is very much a huge part of the business of the university system in Alabama. They make a lot of money. There are boosters. Some boosters agree with this current president. Some boosters don't. Some boosters agreed with the previous president. Some boosters don't. That's not the point of boosting. Another conversation we've had on Nothing Personal. When you are a booster, you are supporting a school, an athletic organization. You are trying to make your school, your alma mater, or a school that matters to you better. And to make it better, you give money. But one of the basic principles of every school, no matter what state, is free speech. And Alabama took advantage of the fact that they're a red state and wanted to make sure they were welcoming to this president by attempting to quash that free speech of its students. So if you're a student of the University of Alabama and you love Trump, then cheer. If you hate Trump, then boo. Either way, Don't break the law by drinking underage. Don't get yourself arrested and thrown out of school. But as far as all these letters are concerned, all these back and forth statements, it's worth the paper it's printed on.